I walked into the conference room, my laptop clutched like a lifeline. Months of work, sleepless nights, endless sketches and calculations, all leading to this moment. "All right, team," Mr. Carlton said, leaning back in his chair with that smug grin. "Let's talk about our next big move." I cleared my throat. Isef prepared a presentation on the new prototype. "Oh, you still love this," he interrupted, waving at the screen. "Isep finalized the design myself." "Wait, what?" The slide flickered on. The invention. My invention, every detail. Every note. Every tweak. Stolen. I froze. My fingers tightened around the laptop like I could crush it into ashes. Sophia sat across from me, my closest colleague, my friend. Her eyes didn't meet mine. Not once. She fiddled with her pen, staring at the table like she was suddenly fascinated by its grain. Mr. Carlton," I said, voice trembling. "I developed this. All of it." He laughed. A smooth, practiced laugh. "Developed? Come on, you helped. But this? This is my vision. I put the finishing touches." I felt my stomach drop. My vision? My nights? My sketches? My calculations? "You did your part. Don't get me wrong," he said, leaning forward, voice honeyed with condescension. "But the final design, that sets on me." I wanted to scream. I wanted the room to burn. I wanted everyone to see, to feel the weight of this theft. Sophia cleared her throat. "Maybe we can all just focus on the presentation? Focus on the presentation? Focus on the lie." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "So, you Sarge saying I contributed nothing." "Let's not get emotional," Carlton said, dismissive. "We saw a team, right? Now let's move on." The words hit me like a hammer. A team? A team that would erase me in front of everyone. I looked around, faces nodding, eyes polite, smiles hiding judgment or indifference. No one noticed. No one cared. Sophia finally spoke, almost a whisper. I didn't no, he stit." "You didn't no?" I shot back, voice sharper than I intended. "You knew, don't lie to me. I saw the way you avoided my eyes. Every step of the way." Her shoulders slumped. I didn't want to." "Didn't want to?" I laughed bitterly, low and harsh. "You were part of this. You let him take my work. You let him erase me, and now you sit there pretending it's all fine." Silence. Carlton smirked. "Well, I see there's some tension. But Abdul, maybe you should learn how to take direction. You still go far in the company if you can follow." Follow. My blood boiled. My work, my brainchild, handed over to someone who couldn't even breathe life into it without my hours in sweat, and he calls me to follow. I clenched my fists under the table. The hollow ache in my chest, twisted with anger. Betrayal tastes metallic, sharp, unforgiving. "You know," I said, voice low, steadying myself against the fury. "I always thought this was a team. That we people I trusted valued integrity. I guess I was wrong." Carlton shrugged, still smug. "Business is business, Abdul. You still learn that soon enough." The room felt smaller, hotter. My vision tunneled into the faces around me, landing finally on Sophia. "And you," I said, softer, more dangerous. "I thought you were my friend, but friends don't let friends get stolen from. They don't let people erase their lives while smiling politely." She didn't answer. Her silence was confession enough. The meeting ended. Applause for Carlton. Pat on the back. Empty smiles. I packed my laptop slowly, deliberately. Each movement a promise. Outside the conference room, I breathed. I tried to calm the storm in my chest. Tried to tell myself I could walk away. But even as I walked down the hall, heart pounding, a spark ignited. Not just anger, not just betrayal, something darker, something sharper. I would not be erased. I would not be forgotten. And I would make sure he paid. Not today. Not tomorrow. But soon. A plan began to form. Quiet, precise, ruthless. The betrayal had lit the fire, and now that fire would burn brighter than anything Carlton had ever imagined. I slammed the door behind me and leaned against it. Empty apartment. Silent. No applause, no nods, no smirks. Just the echo of Carlton's laughter in my head. I called home. Mom picked up immediately. "Abdul, how was the meeting?" I swallowed. My voice cracked before I could stop it. It went bad. There was a pause. Then, bad? What happened? I sank onto the couch, shoulders heavy, chest tighter than I knew possible. He took it, my invention, my work, and he what, honey? Mom Sip's voice trembled. He presented it, as his own, in front of everyone, every single person, and Sophia. She didn't say a word, didn't even look at me. Another pause. Her silence was sharp. I could almost hear her trying to find words that wouldn't sound useless. Abdul, she said finally, soft, I stepped so sorry, that sup's awful. But you have to. Have to what? I snapped, louder than intended. Smile, pretend I sim fine while he walks around like a king. I mean, don't let it break you, she said cautiously. Focus on your strengths. You stir brilliant, you always have been. I laughed, bitter, hollow. Brilliant, Mom, brilliant doesn't matter when people steal your life and smile while doing it. Brilliant doesn't matter when the world applauds the liar. Abdul, calm down. Dad Sep's voice joined from the other line. You can let this consume you. Consume me, Dad? It already has. Every hour since I left that room, I seffed him replaying it. The way he laughed, the way everyone nodded, every smirk, every fake smile. It steps in my head like a recording I can turn off. There was quiet on the line. Then Dad said, maybe it stums to step back, take a break, think clearly. I hung up. The phone felt heavy in my hand. Taking a break? Stepping back? My mind was a storm I couldn't pause. I sat at my desk, staring at a blank page, thinking about every detail of that meeting. How Carlton's hand shook slightly when he gestured, trying too hard to look confident. How Sophia's foot tapped nervously under the table, avoiding mine. How the team nodded, clueless. Nights came but sleep didn't. I counted ceiling cracks, imagined the room collapsing. Every morning felt like a weight pressing into my chest, reminding me of everything stolen. I started keeping a journal, page after page, detailing every conversation, every idea, every sketch I had created, every interaction, every betrayal. It felt necessary, like drawing a map of my own life, piece by piece, so I could reclaim it. I wrote Carlton doesn't know the half of it. Sophia thinks she's safe, but I remember everything. I could feel the rage, simmering, not gone but restrained, quiet, controlled, ready. Mom called again. Abdul, honey, are you eating, sleeping? I lied. Yes, Mom, fine. I wasn't fine. I was numb, empty, sad, isolated. But beneath that numbness there was fire, small, flickering, almost imperceptible. I replayed the presentation in my mind again. The slides, my voice interrupted. His laughter, the applause, the weight of betrayal pressing down deeper each time. And then I noticed something. Each replay didn't just hurt, it taught me, showed me weaknesses, exposed cracks. I wrote more. Page after page, every invention detail logged, every conversation remembered, every moment catalogued. A silent ledger of what was mine and what had been taken. I stopped looking for solace in my family's words. They were kind, yes, but their advice felt shallow compared to the storm inside me. Their reassurance could not fill the hollow left by theft. But I didn't need them to understand. I only needed clarity, only needed a path forward. And in the quiet, in the shadows of my own room, I felt it grow, a plan, not yet fully formed, not yet sharp, but there. I wasn't defeated, not yet. And when the time came, I would take it all back, every ounce of it. Every stolen dream, every stolen moment, every single thing Carlton thought he owned, would belong to me again. I couldn't stop thinking about Carlton. Every smile, every nod, every hollow laugh at that meeting, it haunted me. I needed direction, not comfort, not pity, direction. So I called Professor Lang. Professor, I said, voice tight but steady, I need your advice. Abdul, his voice came calm, measured, like a lighthouse in fog. Tell me exactly what steps happening. I told him, every detail, the meeting. Carlton, Sophia, the applause. My voice shook in parts but I let it. He listened, silent, until the end. And you've done the work, he said finally. All of it, From start to finish. Yes. My hands gripped the phone so tight I could feel my knuckles ache. Every night, every calculation, every sketch, and he just claimed it. Lang exhaled. Abdul. Listen, recognition is instead always about emotion. You can claim it legally, strategically. Emotion will only burn you out. I blinked. Legally? Yes. Documentation, prototypes, emails, records, anything that proves origin. You've been smart, you saved everything, haven't set you. I hesitated. I I think so. Good, then start there. Quietly, strategically, build your case. Don't set show rage. Don't set show weakness. Let him reveal himself while you strengthen your position. I hung up and stared at my desk. The storm inside me shifted. The anger didn't disappear, but it became sharper, focused. I opened the drawer and pulled out every sketch, prototype note, email, every time-stamped document I could find. Each page felt heavier than the last, but instead of despair, I felt control. Control. The word made a strange sound in my chest. It tasted like fire tempered by ice. The next day at the office, I walked in differently. Calm, collected, a mask of normalcy over the storm inside. Carlton smiled at me, a predator smile. "Good morning, Abdul," he said, hand extended. I shook it. Slow, deliberate. "Morning, Mr. Carlton." Every handshake was now a chess move. Every smile a test. Every casual remark a potential clue. I watched him, watched his reactions. Calculated. Cataloged. Sophia glanced at me, eyes curious, then quickly away. I didn't acknowledge her. Not yet. At lunch, a colleague asked about the prototype. "Carlton says that's all him. Weird, huh?" I nodded. Slow. "Interesting how stories change, isn't it?" Her laugh was nervous. I didn't laugh. I only remembered Lang's words. Build your case quietly, strategically. Every word, every interaction mattered. Back at my desk, I started compiling everything digitally. Emails, drafts, sketches, saved chat logs, each file a weapon, each timestamp a proof. Carlton walked by, casually, busy Abdul, or hiding your brilliance again. I looked up, calm, unshaken. Just organizing my work. You know how it is. Details matter. His eyes flicked over the table. Nothing suspicious, nothing revealing. Good. I realized then how invisible I could be, how unnoticed my careful observation was, and that invisibility was power, silent power, quiet, controlled, dangerous. I spent evenings alone, piecing together the story of my invention. Each note, each sketch, each email reinforced the truth that he had taken what was mine. And with each piece my rage transformed, not into blind fury, but into precision, into strategy, into action waiting for its cue. Lang's advice repeated in my head: don't show rage, strength lies in proof, not emotion. I tested it the next day, a casual comment about deadlines, a shared joke about teamwork. Carlton responded with his usual smirk. I noted it, stored it mentally. Every smile, every joke, every nod, data, evidence in plain sight. By the end of the week, I had a folder, digital and physical, detailing the full timeline of my invention. Every interaction with Carlton recorded. Every misstep noted. Every ally of his who might be useful or complicit cataloged. And for the first time since the presentation, I felt empowered. Not loud, not vengeful yet, not visible, but strong, focused, unstoppable if I played it right. I wasn't stat powerless. Not anymore. I closed my laptop and leaned back. The storm inside me hadn't gone. It had sharpened, focused, ready. Carlton didn't know what was coming. Sophia didn't know what I was planning. Not a soul in that office had a clue. And that ignorance was my advantage. I whispered to myself, almost a vow: I will reclaim what's mine. Every bit, every piece. And when I do, he'll realize he never should have underestimated me. The seeds of strategy were planted. Quiet, patient, deadly in their potential. I sat across from Jordan, the legal advisor I'd tracked down after Lang's counsel. His office smelled of polished wood and quiet authority. "So," he said, leaning back, steepling his fingers, "You've got documentation, proof, timestamps, emails." I nodded, letting the folders slide onto his desk. "Everything. Every sketch, every prototype, every interaction with Carlton. He didn't leave a single move unrecorded. Jordan raised an eyebrow. And you want what exactly? Licensing fees, I said. My voice was calm, controlled, cold in a way that surprised even me. He used my invention, he profited from it, now he pays. Or we take it further. Jordan frowned. You understand the risks? Office politics, retaliation, he seps powerful, people like him don't set like being corrected. I understand, I leaned forward. I sup tired of being powerless, tired of letting him walk around like he owns my work. I sup done. Jordan studied me. Long pause, then finally, you star serious. I've never been more serious in my life, I said. He nodded, tapping a pen against the folder. All right, we still structure it carefully. Letters, official claims, proof of originality. Make it airtight, but expect resistance. Expect whispers, expect his allies to attack. Be prepared. I didn't flinch. I didn't hesitate. I still be ready. Jordan gave a small approving nod. Good, because once this starts, it's sups a chess game, you can set back down. I left his office feeling different. Lighter, sharper. The storm inside me had shifted from chaos to purpose. I could almost taste the control. Back at the office, Carlton was in the lounge, laughing too loudly, arms crossed over the prototype as if hugging it to himself. Look at this, he said, voice booming. Sales are through the roof, everyone stopped talking about it. I told you all, vision wins. I leaned against the doorway watching. He didn't see me, he never saw me. I smiled, quietly, internally, the irony wasn't lost on me. The higher he climbed, the more visible he became, and the harder he would fall. Sophia glanced at me, nervously. Avoided my eyes, still complicit, I realized, still blind to the storm I was brewing. A colleague nudged me. Did you see Carlton today? He seps really taking the credit, huh? Yeah, I said, calm. Interesting how people think success belongs to them when it's seps borrowed. She frowned, confused. I didn't clarify. No need, let her wonder. Let everyone underestimate me. That was my weapon now. Patience, observation, preparation. Each smile I forced. Each handshake I offered. Calculated. Every word spoken a data point. Every interaction a potential threat in the case I was building. Carlton strutted by later, bragging to the interns. Innovation is set just about ideas. It sets about execution. That sets why people follow me. I nodded politely, letting my expression remain neutral. Inside, I was counting steps, mapping moves. Every brag, every flourish, every self-congratulatory laugh, fuel for my plan. Jordan's warnings echoed in my mind. Retaliation, subtle sabotage, whisper campaigns, office politics. I welcomed it. Every action he took to assert control would only expose weakness, and I would be ready. Back at my desk, I updated my journal, page after page, every interaction, every email, every observation. I even noted Carlton's moods, tendencies, and signature moves. I realized I was enjoying it, the strategy, the feeling of being in control for the first time since the betrayal. Thrilling, quiet, consuming, not power over others, power over the situation, over the narrative, over my stolen work. Lang had given me insight, Jordan had given me the legal roadmap, and I had sharpened my focus. I wasn't just defending myself anymore, I was preparing to reclaim what was mine. And the first step was licensing. A demand, a recognition, a reminder that no one, not even Carlton, could steal from me and walk away untouched. I imagined the letter, the official tone, the proof, the smirk that would form on Carlton's face before it faded into panic. The disbelief that someone he underestimated could corner him with precision. I closed my journal and leaned back. The adrenaline wasn't frantic. It was controlled, like holding fire in your hand without burning yourself. He would laugh. He would flaunt. He would feel untouchable. And that arrogance, that overconfidence would be his undoing. I whispered to no one, a vow and a promise. Soon, Carlton, very soon, you'll see that what's mine was never yours. And the higher you climb, the harder you'll fall. For the first time since the presentation, I felt not just anger but power. Quiet, precise, thrilling. And it was mine. I walked into the office, calm, neutral, invisible. The storm inside me had become a quiet, controlled pulse. "Morning, Abdul," Sophia said, her voice lighter than usual, nervous, hesitant. She avoided my eyes, but I could feel her attention. I smiled politely. "Morning, simple. Nothing more." Raj waved from his desk. "Hey man, you okay?" I nodded. "Better than okay, just thinking." Thinking, always thinking. Observing, calculating. Every smile, every nod, every casual glance became data points. Later in the lounge, I overheard Carlton boasting again. "The board loves it, everyone sips impressed. My design is genius." I sipped my coffee, slow, letting the words hang. "Interesting. I wonder if they know the full story." He glanced at me, startled. A flicker of unease. I didn't meet his eyes, just a casual remark, carefully placed, subtle enough to plant a seed. Sophia nearly choked on her tea. "What do you mean?" she whispered, leaning in. "Just curious," I said lightly. I've been reviewing emails from the prototype phase. Some details are surprising, makes you question who really did what. Her hands trembled slightly. She avoided my eyes. I felt satisfaction, silent, cold. The first cracks were appearing. Raj shifted in his chair. "Abdul, if you think there's something off, maybe we should look at it together." I nodded, low, discreet. Quietly, just observations for now. No accusations, only facts. He smiled faintly. Loyal, reliable, a solid ally in the chaos. I could work with that. Over the next few days, I let hints slip. Casual mentions of timelines, offhand comments about emails or sketches. Subtle enough that no one could accuse me of stirring trouble, but strong enough that anyone paying attention would notice the inconsistencies. Carlton began to change. Slowly, almost imperceptibly. Misplaced confidence. Hands twitching mid-gesture. Over-explaining minor successes. I caught him twice trying to delete emails after thinking no one was looking. I noticed everything. Every tell. Every flinch. Every small defensive move. Sophia started hesitating around me. Her avoidance turned into nervous glances. Once she murmured, almost under her breath, "I didn't mean for this to happen." I let the words sink. Didn't respond. Didn't need to. The guilt was evident. Fuel. Raj leaned closer one day. "Abdul, you really think we can turn this around?" I smiled faintly. Quiet, controlled, not turn it around. Just make people see what SEP's real. Step by step. He nodded. I set him in. I began organizing a subtle campaign, notes left casually on desks, slightly altered presentation slides with my annotations, small comments in group emails. Nothing obvious, nothing direct, but enough to make people question what they'd been told. Enough to make whispers ripple. Whispers grew, not loud, not confrontational, just doubt. Carlton started overcompensating. "The prototype is flawless." Flawless, I say. Too loud, too sharp, over-explaining, correcting things that didn't need correction. I watched, calm. Every misstep catalogued. Every defensive response noted. Every flinch recorded mentally for later. Even minor colleagues began noticing. "Have you seen the original sketches?" Someone murmured in the break room. I think, maybe Abdul was involved more than Carlton lets on. I didn't respond, just observed. Let it grow organically, like roots beneath the surface. Silent, invisible, slow, dangerous. Sophia avoided me more now. One glance, one almost whispered apology. She was caught between loyalty and fear. I didn't push. I let her unravel quietly. Her unease strengthened the tension in the office. Carlton stopped noticing subtle stares. His arrogance blinded him. The higher he climbed, the more obvious his cracks became. Misplaced confidence. Hesitation masked as casual charm. Small defensive gestures. I walked past him one day, lightly touching his shoulder as if in support. "Looks like things are going well, Mr. Carlton." He nodded too quickly. Smiled too hard. Eyes flicked nervously. I didn't break my calm. Just a simple smile back. And inside, I was exhilarated. Thrilled. Quietly victorious. The storm had shifted. The power was no longer entirely his. The office's reality was bending toward me, piece by piece, rumor by rumor, suggestion by suggestion. By the end of the week, I could see it in his posture. The way he paused before speaking. The way he double-checked slides. The way he hesitated mid-laugh. Not dramatic. Not obvious to anyone else. But to me, perfection. Every flinch, every doubt, every subtle falter was a sign. The seeds I had planted were sprouting. And I smiled, small, quiet, satisfied. Because the first truth of revenge is this: it doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be immediate. Sometimes the quietest moves make the deepest impact. I had control again. Not overt, not explosive, but precise, subtle, unseen. And Carlton, oblivious. The higher he climbed, the more fragile he became. And when the time came, the fall would be inevitable. I walked into the boardroom with my folder in hand, thick, heavy with months of proof, timestamps, emails, sketches, prototypes, everything, every page a weapon, every document a shield. Carlton looked up from the head of the table, smile easy, confident, rehearsed. Abdul, what brings you here? I set the folder down calmly, slowly, deliberately, let my fingers linger over the edge for a heartbeat longer than necessary. I set him here to clarify something, something that should have been clear months ago. He raised an eyebrow. Clarify? Yes, I said, my voice steady. Cold. The origin of the prototype currently credited to you, the design you Sev presented as your own, that invention. Carlton's smile faltered slightly. Just a twitch. I didn't rush. I let it sink. I opened the folder, spread the documents like evidence in a courtroom. Every sketch, every calculation, every email showing development stages. All mine, documented, time-stamped, verifiable. The invention is mine, not yours. The board murmured, whispers rippled around the table. Shock, confusion, eyes flicking between Carlton and me. Carlton cleared his throat, trying to mask panic. Ugh. I raised a hand. Silence. My gaze locked on his. Calm, unyielding. No, Mr. Carlton, there is nothing to explain. The evidence speaks for itself. You claimed my work, profited from it, misled this entire company. That ends today. He swallowed, stammered. I didn't I mean. I ignored him. Let him flounder. Every pause, every stutter, a tiny victory. I am demanding licensing fees, fair compensation for every use of the prototype, and recognition. Written, official, public, that which is mine, must be acknowledged. The room was tense, silent, except for Carlton's uneven breathing. I could see the cracks in his confidence widening with each passing second. A board member cleared their throat. Abdul, this is thorough. Incredible. Yusef documented everything. I nodded. Yes. Every step, every interaction, every design decision. Carlton Sick's hand twitched on the table. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. But I led the project. I coordinated. I cut him off gently, deliberately. You coordinated, but you did not create. You did not invent. That is the distinction here. Coordination does not equal ownership. He leaned back, defeated, hiding it behind a forced cough. I let him. Every faltering gesture reinforced the board's growing awareness of the truth. One of the senior members spoke slowly, carefully. Abdul, we had no idea you were the sole creator. This is damning evidence. I kept my expression neutral. Calm. Isef tried to be patient, tried to address this quietly, but my work cannot be erased, and my rights cannot be ignored. Carlton's color drained. He swallowed again, looking around the room for support. None came. Not from the board, not from his peers. Even his usual sycophants avoided my gaze. I felt the first thrill of clarity, not chaos, not vengeance and anger. Strategy, patience, evidence, precision. The power I'd longed for was finally mine. Abdul, Carlton whispered, voice low, defeated. This is insane. I stem aware of how it looks, I said softly. But it steps the truth, and the truth has weight, the weight you tried to ignore. The board members glanced at one another, then back at me. Questions, hesitation, respect, recognition. And then a nod from the chair, a quiet, deliberate approval. We need to rectify this. Abdul, your claims are valid. Licensing fees, acknowledgement, all of it. We sell act immediately. I allowed myself a small internal smile, quiet, controlled, sweet, like the first sip of water after months of thirst. Carlton's shoulders slumped. His confidence, which had been so loud, so performative, crumbled silently in the room. He tried to speak again, but no words could undo the evidence. I closed the folder slowly, deliberately. I trust the company will ensure this is handled fairly, that my work is recognized as it should have been from the start. He stared at me. Nothing. Defeat. The arrogance that had once been armor was gone. Only shame and fear lingered. I felt it then, the first full taste of empowerment. Not loud, not chaotic, not cruel. Strategic, effective, perfect. I looked around the room at colleagues who had once doubted me. Their eyes now held something different. Respect, recognition, even admiration. Raj caught my gaze, a faint nod. Quiet solidarity. I returned it. Sophia avoided my eyes, still uneasy, but I didn't need her validation. She had been a witness to the shift, if nothing else. I leaned back slightly in my chair, calm, collected. Victory was not a scream, not a public humiliation. It was clarity, precision, justice carried out through evidence, strategy, and patience. Carlton muttered under his breath. I can stet this can stet. I smiled faintly, silently. Let him flounder, let the truth sink in, let him feel the consequences of his arrogance. The board moved to implement the licensing and recognition immediately. I watched silently, savoring the subtle tremor of power that now coursed through the room. For the first time since that stolen presentation, I felt something I hadn't in months, the sweet clarity of justice. Not chaos, not confrontation. Strategy, patience, evidence, precision. And it was mine. I was at my desk when Carlton appeared. Not his usual swagger. Not a rehearsed smile. Just quiet, heavy, hesitant. Abdul, he said, voice low, almost unsteady. Can we talk? I didn't look up immediately. Let him wait. Let him feel the weight of my calm. Sure, I said finally. In private. He followed me to the corner of the office, where the hum of computers masked our conversation, close enough to speak, distant enough for no one to overhear. I wanted to explain, he began, fumbling with his hands. What I did. I was under pressure. Everyone expected results. I thought I was helping the company. Not realizing. Helping? I cut in, voice measured, calm, by stealing my work, taking credit for months of my effort. He winced. I didn't know how else to handle it. I was ambitious. Yes. I wanted to prove myself. I never imagined the consequences would be this severe. I let silence stretch, long enough for him to feel it, heavy, crushing. The apology hanging between us, fragile, meaningless. Regret doesn't fix theft, I said softly. Doesn't undo what you took. I know, he whispered. I see that now. I misjudged everything. I see it in the board-sip's eyes, in your work, in my own failures. I studied him. Every shift, every hesitant step, every faltering glance. Power had changed hands, and he knew it. I sage searching for words that wouldn't exist. I some sorry, truly. I never wanted. You can apologize for months of erasure, I said quietly, but it's satisfying to hear you recognize the truth. He flinched slightly as if admitting guilt was a physical weight pressing down. I can undo the past, he admitted, but I want to make amends, correct what I did. I smiled faintly, controlled, internal, quiet triumph. Not cruelty, not vengeance for its own sake, just acknowledgement, recognition that the tables had turned. Amends? I asked. Calm, do you know what that looks like? He shook his head, barely audible. I think licensing fees, recognition, correcting my mistakes publicly. I nodded slowly. Yes. That's a start. But remember, Carlton, respect and trust aren't restored by words alone. They are earned, and you lost both. He exhaled, defeated. The confident man who'd walked into that boardroom months ago was gone, replaced by someone small, faltering, aware of the consequences. The shift wasn't just private. I watched him in meetings afterward, eyes flickering nervously, words catching mid-sentence. Gestures that had been commanding now hesitated. Confidence misplaced. Authority questioned. Even colleagues who once deferred to him noticed. Questions became sharper. Glances heavier. His empire of arrogance crumbling silently, piece by piece. I didn't gloat. Not loudly. Not publicly. I observed. Collected. Watched the natural consequences unfold. Raj caught my eye during one meeting. A small nod. Silent acknowledgement of the balance restored. Sophia avoided my gaze entirely. The tension of her previous complicity now tangible, visible. The satisfaction I felt wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. Vindication. The world had aligned with truth, and I had remained patient, calculated, precise. Carlton approached me again later, head bowed slightly, voice quiet. I underestimated you. Completely. I see it now. You were meticulous. Patient. Strategic. I let a faint smile slip. And you, overconfident. Reckless. Arrogant. The higher you climbed, the more visible your cracks became. He nodded. Shameful. Yes. I see that. And I can change it. I only wish I done things differently. Wish is a weak word, I said softly. Strategy and evidence carry weight, not wishes, not excuses. He exhaled, defeated, a man reduced by his own actions. I felt something light in my chest. Closure, not joy in suffering, but satisfaction in justice. In the quiet of the office afterward, I realized something important. Revenge isn't about cruelty. It isn't about chaos. It isn't about making someone suffer for the sake of it. It's about reclaiming dignity, standing firm, making sure the truth matters, that fairness prevails, that your work, your integrity, your effort are acknowledged. I leaned back in my chair, eyes on Carlton as he spoke to the board, faltering slightly, the weight of accountability pressing on him. And I smiled inwardly, softly, not loudly, quietly, because this was enough. The work was mine, the recognition was mine, the respect I had earned, mine. Justice, subtle and precise, had been served, and the man who had once thought himself untouchable had finally learned that power isn't about taking, it's about earning. And I had earned mine. The boardroom smelled of polished wood, tension, and quiet anticipation. I walked in, folder in hand, spine straight, mind calm. Months of careful planning had led to this moment. Every observation, every subtle manipulation, every piece of evidence, all pointed here. Carlton was at the head of the table, as usual, but this time his posture was rigid, his smile forced, eyes darting. The arrogance that once shielded him was gone, replaced by thinly veiled panic. Abdul, he said, voice tight. The board I held up a hand. Silence. My calm contrasted sharply with his agitation. I will address the board directly, I said. Voice steady, deliberate. Thank you, Mr. Carlton. He flushed. Tried to interject. I ignored him. Let him flounder in his own insecurity. I turned to the board members. Good morning, I began. Calm, precise. I am here today to formalize what has been clear for months. The invention credited to Mr. Carlton is my creation. A murmur ran through the room. Heads tilted. Pens paused mid-scribble. Eyes fixed on me. I have documented every stage of this project, I continued. Every sketch, every email, every prototype. Each piece of work demonstrates a timeline of creation that proves ownership. This is not about ego. It is about truth, integrity, and recognition of effort. Carlton shifted in his seat, fingers drummed nervously. He opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. Abdul? This isn't necessary. I didn't break my gaze. Necessary? Yes, because without acknowledgement, my work and the labor of years is erased. Misrepresented, misused. I opened my folder, placing it on the table like a judge laying down the law. I am proposing licensing terms that reflect the value of this invention and the recognition I deserve. Nothing more, nothing less. One board member leaned forward. Abdul, these documents, this is meticulous, impeccable. Are these all yours? I nodded. Yes. Every page, every email, every sketch. Carlton Sepp's hands clenched. His face betrayed disbelief. I contributed. Coordination is not creation, I said softly, but firmly. You coordinated. I created. and creation matters more than coordination when credit and ownership are concerned. A tense silence followed. The board exchanged glances, whispers threading through the room. Even Carlton's allies were forced to confront the truth in my presence. Finally, the chair spoke, voice heavy with authority. We must vote, licensing under Abdulsep's terms. Carlton Sepp's eyes widened. Vote, he stammered. But, vote, I repeated. Calm, clear, deliberate, fair, just, legal, reflecting reality, not ego. The votes were cast, one by one, hands raised, approval unanimous. The motion passed. Licensing recognized under my terms. My creation formally acknowledged. Carlton slumped, defeated, the mask of confidence shattered, his mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, words failing him. I turned to address the board fully. I want to thank you for recognizing the truth, for acknowledging my work. I hope this serves as a reminder that integrity, diligence, and patience are not just virtues, they are forces. I let the words sink, each phrase deliberate, each sentence measured, a professional statement, yet biting enough to make the theft and arrogance he displayed impossible to ignore. And to my colleagues I said, eyes sweeping across familiar faces, some nodding, some wide-eyed, this invention represents years of effort, long nights, constant problem-solving, and unwavering focus. Let it be clear, ownership is not a title to claim, it is a responsibility earned through sweat, sacrifice, and commitment. Carlton's jaw tightened, his face pale. He looked around the room, searching for sympathy, for support. None came, only recognition of my truth. The room remained silent, tension palpable. I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. The victory was visible in the calm acknowledgement, the shift in power, the documentation of truth. I felt something inside me loosen, a weight lifted. Not all. Scars remained, months of betrayal, humiliation, and doubt left marks, but they were tempered by this clarity, this strength, this moment of justice earned through strategy, patience, and evidence. Carlton finally muttered, voice low, hollow, almost a whisper, I underestimated you. Completely. I see it now. I allowed a small, controlled smile. Not arrogance, not revenge, recognition. Quiet satisfaction. He had learned the cost of arrogance and deceit, and I had claimed what was mine without stooping to chaos, without cruelty, without lowering myself to pettiness. I closed my folder, sliding it back across the table. Justice does not require spectacle, I said. It requires clarity, preparation, and the courage to stand firm. Today that justice has been served. The board nodded. Carlton's attempts to reassert authority floundered visibly. Colleagues who had doubted me now looked with respect, even admiration. Reggie gave a subtle nod from across the room. Sophia avoided my gaze entirely, a mix of guilt and acknowledgement lingering in her expression. I realized then what I had gained went beyond recognition or fees. It was the reclamation of my dignity, the affirmation of my abilities, the proof that strategy and persistence could overcome theft, arrogance, and betrayal. Carlton shrank under the weight of accountability. The higher he once climbed, the harder the truth pulled him down, and I stood firm, calm, unshaken, victorious. Not in anger, not in chaos, but in precision, patience, and undeniable truth. I breathed in, slow and steady, scars remained, lessons remained, strength remained, and for the first time in months I felt whole. Justice had been served, and I had earned it. Fully, completely, publicly. I sit at the edge of my balcony, city lights stretched below like a river of fire. Quiet, calm. No one can see the storm that passed. No one can feel the months of tension, betrayal, and strategy that led here. Only me, and the weight of all I endured. Mom comes out quietly, carrying 2 cups of tea. You look lighter, she says, setting one down beside me. I take it, nodding. I feel lighter, I admit, voice soft, not bragging, just stating fact. Dad joins us a moment later, leaning against the railing. I've never seen you so composed after a storm like that, he says, a quiet pride in his eyes. It was instead easy, I whisper. Months of watching, planning, waiting, and watching him falter. Carlton, watching him finally face reality. It was necessary, but it was hard not to let anger take over completely. Mom sits beside me, placing her hand over mine. You handled it with dignity, she says. Your father and I, we saw proud. But more than that, you handled yourself. Not just your invention. I smile faintly. It wasn't just about proving him wrong. It was about proving to myself that I could stay true, that I could navigate this without losing who I am. A pause. Silence hangs between us. Comfortable now. Later I call Professor Lang. His familiar voice crackles over the line. A steady presence. Abdul, he says. Hey, I heard remarkable. I have to say, you orchestrated every step flawlessly. Calm, measured, precise. You didn't just reclaim your invention, you reclaimed your power. I learned from the pain, I say. Every misstep, every sleepless night. It built me, made me think, made me plan. I had to separate myself from the betrayal, understand it, and respond strategically. Exactly, he says, approving. And that's what most people never learn. They react in anger. You acted with strategy, patience, poise. That's the mark of someone who's not only smart but wise. I exhale, letting it sink in. I am tired of being haunted by what was stolen. I am done letting him define my worth. My invention, my work, my legacy. It's mine, and no one else seps. There sucks a pause, then he says softly, Abdul, it sucks more than yours. It sucks proof that integrity, resilience and intelligence carry weight, that patience and planning aren't suckles weaknesses. They supper strength, and you've mastered that strength. I sit back, a quiet smile forming.
I needed this journey, I admit.
The betrayal, the humiliation, it taught me things I wouldn't have learned otherwise, about people, about myself, about power, patience, and the subtle ways justice can be served without chaos. Mom watches me with understanding. You've grown, she says, not just victorious, but wiser, stronger, whole. I nod, letting the words resonate. I remember the sleepless nights, the silent plotting, the flicker of rage that became resolve. The moments of doubt, replaying Carlton's smirks, Sophia's avoidance, Raj's cautious support. Each moment built me, sharpened me, prepared me. I don't want revenge anymore. I admit quietly, I want progress, growth, recognition. Yes. Justice, yes. But mostly, I want to move forward. Dad nods, pride clear in his expression. And you will. You've earned more than recognition. You've earned confidence, resilience and clarity. You've in control now, not just of your work, but of yourself. The city hums below, lights flicker like small victories, reminders that the world keeps moving, no matter the battles we face, and now I move with it. Steady, prepared, poised, strong. Professor Lang's voice lingers in my mind. Patience and strategy are strength. I feel it deeply. Every scar, every late night, every heartbeat of tension and calculation now fuels me instead of weighing me down. I glance at my journal, filled with meticulous records of the invention's development, emails, sketches, strategies, and personal reflections. A testament to what was mine, and what will always remain mine. Sophia passes by the balcony, avoids my eyes, her expression unreadable. I feel nothing but calm. No anger, no gloating, just acknowledgement that the balance of truth is restored. Raj stops for a moment, gives me a small nod, quiet support, no words needed. I return it, a silent recognition of the loyalty and trust that mattered more than the chaos. I sip my tea, letting warmth seep in. The air is crisp, calm, peaceful, a far cry from the storm that once consumed me. I reflect on everything, the heartbreak, confusion, betrayal, the careful plotting, the subtle manipulations, the eventual triumph. I think about Carlton, humbled, the board, enlightened, my colleagues, witnesses to the shift. And I realize something essential. Victory isn't just about winning, it's about integrity, about knowing who you are, even when the world tries to define you by someone else's mistakes, about holding your ground with dignity and strategy. The scars remain, subtle, quiet reminders of the journey, but alongside them, the strength, confidence, a calm dominance, knowledge that I can face challenges, orchestrate justice, and rise without losing myself. Mom touches my shoulder again. This is your moment, she says softly. Take it. Let it stay with you. Earned it. I nod. Finally, fully, completely. Yes, I say. I sep earned it. Every bit of it. The wind brushes my face. Evening settles, the city pulses below, indifferent to the battles it hides and reveals every day. But I am ready. Prepared, strong, wiser. I walk inside, back straight, eyes clear. The path ahead is mine. The invention, my legacy, my dignity. Protected, recognized, secure. No one can take it from me now. Not Carlton, not circumstance, not fear. I spiv risen beyond. And I carry the proof of strength, strategy, and resilience with me. Calm, empowered, victorious. The journey isn't over, but the past no longer controls me. I sev won, I sev grown, I sev risen beyond.